coordinator for the study. All participants have been muted to avoid background noise. Following the presentation, we will take comments and questions online and by phone. We will provide instruction when we get to that portion of the meeting. To turn on closed captioning, select that option from the WebEx menu. If you are currently experiencing any technical issues, you may need to log off and reconnect. Or if you are on a phone, hang up and redial. If you continue to experience problems, please connect WebEx support at 866-229-3239. The format for tonight is a short presentation followed by a question and answer session. Please note this meeting is being recorded. We are providing simultaneous Spanish language interpretation. There may be additional pauses throughout the presentation in order for the interpreter to catch up. Joining me is Lydia, who is providing the interpretation for us. Hello, Lydia. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, I'm Lydia Solis and I'm the interpreter. Hola, soy Lidia Solís y soy la intérprete de español. Gracias.
Thank you, Lydia. I will give her a moment to change over her audio. Okay then, now I would like to introduce Marty Zeke, Project Manager for the West Phoenix Alternatives Analysis. Marty, take it away.
Thank you, Brett. As Brett had said, my name is Marty Zeke. I am the Valley Metro Project Manager for this study. The format of this meeting is a short presentation followed by a question and answer period. So to start out, and just going over the project overview, what we are presenting today is the final public series of public meetings for our alternatives analysis study in the West Phoenix corridor. What we are looking at is a few different things. First off, the type of high-capacity transit that we're looking to bring to the West Phoenix area, be that light rail, so LRT, or bus rapid transit, BRT. We're also going to be discussing the route that this study has shown to be the most promising alternative. And then finally, just to mention that we did also look into what we call station planning areas, just to get a sense of where potential stations could go as the project progresses into the future. To start out, the study area that we entered into this project with is what you see here on the screen. The eastern end of the study area is Central Avenue, right in the middle of Phoenix, and that's indicated on the map by the existing light rail alignment north to south, which is that purple line with all of the white circles indicating existing light rail stations. The northern boundary of the study area is Camelback Road. The western border of the study area, 99th Avenue, west of the 101 freeway. And the southern end of the study area is McDowell Road, just north of I-10. Two other things I'd like to point out before we move to the next slide. This project not only has the ability to connect with the existing light rail system, again shown in purple, on the Central Avenue end of the map. It also has the ability to connect to two planned high-capacity transit projects in the West Valley. those being the Phoenix BRT corridor, which you see on this map in blue, running from downtown Phoenix along Van Buren Street to 35th Avenue, and then all the way north beyond this map up to the Metro Center Mall. And then the I-10 West light rail extension, which will take light rail from downtown Phoenix out along the I-10 to 79th Avenue, and then up 79th Avenue to Thomas Road, where it will end around the Desert Sky Mall. The first time we went to the public this spring, we presented this map. This map shows the original set of alternatives that we brought to the table to the public, which consists of 10 lines, really just running the gamut of this study area. We looked at ways to connect from the existing light rail line west to bring Maryvale a new form of high-capacity transit and provide that really seamless connection into the rest of the region's transportation system. From a combination of public feedback as well as analysis that we did, we were able to narrow that map with those 10 different alignments down to the 2 that you see on this screen. These were presented to the public in the summer, where we advanced 2 options that both started at Central Avenue and Indian School to provide that direct connection to the existing light rail system there. Both options then headed west along Indian School Road to meet up with the Phoenix BRT project, which you can see in the dotted blue line running up and down the map at 35th Avenue. The 2 options then split from each other at 51st Avenue, with the green option continuing west along Indian School to 75th Avenue, and the red option taking 51st Avenue south to Thomas Road, where the 2 alignments then met up again at 75th Avenue. Both of these alignments provide connection to the I-10 West light rail project at 79th Avenue and Thomas, which is indicated on the screen by that purple circle. And both options then have the ability to continue west along Thomas Road to 91st Avenue, where they have the potential to serve the large and growing medical district that's forming out on Thomas Road, anchored by a Banner Hospital. So now to talk about this phase of the analysis and what we are presenting to the public today. The past few slides indicated the different routes we were looking at. Today, we are going to both be discussing the route that made it to the top of the list, as well as the transit type that this project is recommending that Phoenix City Council consider. The 2 types of high-capacity transit that we evaluated are light rail and bus rapid transit, as you can see in the diagram on the screen. Light rail operates at a higher speed than other forms of high-capacity transit, with one of the main reasons being For light rail to exist, it needs to have its own dedicated space to operate. Based on the way light rail operates, it cannot be in the same lanes as cars. When we look at light rail, there are a few other main components that we look into. First of all, the cost to build. So as you can see on the screen, it is the most expensive form of high-capacity transit that we studied. But it also has a very high capacity. Each light rail car can hold up to 175 people. And Valley Metro light rail trains typically operate either in 2-car or 3-car consists, meaning that a 3-car light rail vehicle can hold up to 600 people. Because of the number of people that you are able to get into the vehicles, the average cost to operate is quite low. Bus rapid transit, also like light rail, has the ability to run at quite a high speed. The difference being, because it is a bus service, it has the ability to operate in dedicated lanes like light rail has on its own track, as well as shared traffic with cars. In comparison to light rail, bus rapid transit is cheaper to build significantly. Its capacity per vehicle is significantly less than light rail. And because of this, it does have a higher cost to operate than light rail. For this evaluation, to get from those 2 routes to the one that we ultimately ended up recommending, we used the following evaluation criteria. First, I'll talk about ridership. And what we mean by ridership potential is essentially how many people do we show through our models that would use this service. The goal in bringing high-capacity transit to a region is to provide a service that people want to use. And so we make sure that what we're doing is looking into the type of service that really will attract a lot of riders. As we go through the process, we also identify what we call physical and engineering constraints. In this analysis, we essentially look at the alignments that we chose as well as the transit modes to determine if it makes sense to build down a specific corridor or if there would be challenges, namely due to just what we're seeing on the ground. When the challenges get too high, it can make a route look less appealing than another route. We also took a look at very high-level costs just to determine which alternatives make the most sense from that perspective. We identified different characteristics of the community that this project is looking to serve. Namely, what is the existing transit ridership? Where are people looking to go? Where are people coming from? We also heavily factored in community input from our last 2 series of public meetings. We identified the land uses in the corridors that we are studying to determine whether high-capacity transit in a specific corridor makes sense. And in turn, we also looked into what we call economic development potential. Essentially, are there sites along the corridor that would make sense for future growth? Is the area completely built out? And what are some of the ways that bringing this service into that corridor can benefit that community? And then finally, last thing we looked into is compatibility with the existing and planned transportation network. In doing so, we want to ensure that the project that we are recommending to Council for consideration makes sense with everything that's built up and is going to be built up to create a really comprehensive system of transportation in the Valley. And one that allows residents and visitors to Maryvale and West Phoenix in general to have the opportunity to choose how they would like to get around. Be it driving, be it riding a bus, or be it riding this new system that we are proposing. So now I am excited to share our recommendation in this meeting. For the West Phoenix High Capacity Transit Alternatives Analysis, the project team recommends light rail transit starting at Central Avenue in Phoenix to connect up with the Central Avenue and Indian School light rail station. The project would then provide rail service west along Indian School Road to 75th Avenue, south on 75th Avenue to Thomas Road, and then west along Thomas Road to meet up with the I-10 West light rail extension at Desert Sky Mall. And to then have the potential to extend at an optional route west another 1.5 miles to the Banner Medical Center at 91st Avenue in Thomas. This recommendation connects a number of different communities to each other, ties in 3 different modes of high-capacity transit to each other, and provides numerous connections to large activity centers, schools, and different forms of higher density housing that already exist along Indian School Road. To go into some more detail about what this route and this mode brings to the table, what we saw is that this route, what we're calling the green option, or now just our recommendation, it has the highest ridership of everything that we looked into. So the most number of people that would be riding this project. As we identified light rail over bus rapid transit for this project, the main thing that really stood out is that light rail produces more than double the ridership of bus rapid transit. This route serves the most number of transit-reliant customers. So it really provides a fast and new service for folks that are already utilizing the transit system as their main form of mobility. This route has the highest economic development potential of all of the different things that we looked into in this study. It serves the most number of affordable housing units. And finally, we see through our analysis that having this alignment run as light rail provides a faster travel time than it would if it were a bus rapid transit project. So this slide is showing essentially what I discussed on the past two, but in the form of what our analysis showed. The alignment that the project team is recommending is what's shown at the top series of those little icons. So that's what we're calling the green alternative as rail. I know there's a lot of information on this slide, and I am happy to talk through it further during the question and answer period. This information is also available on the project website for further review at valleymetro.org/West Phoenix. So, what are the next steps? We have 2 public meetings scheduled for this outreach period. Tonight, and then another on Wednesday, September 27th, so next Wednesday. That is an in-person meeting at Desert West Community Center in Maryvale. This recommendation will then be presented for input and possible action via the Phoenix City Council process. That starts with the Citizens Transportation Commission. That meeting will take place on October 26th. It will then go to the Phoenix City Council Transportation, Infrastructure, and Planning Subcommittee on November 15th. And then finally, to full City Council for consideration on December 6th. I do want to note that those dates are subject to change, and please visit the public meeting notices at phoenix.gov for updates on those 3 meetings as it goes through the council process. And with that, I am going to turn it back over to Brett to tell everyone how they can ask questions and provide their comments this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. We will now begin the question and answer portion of tonight's meeting. You may ask a question a few different ways. To verbally make a statement or ask a question, we ask that you please virtually raise your hand. Here's how to do that. For those of you using WebEx through your internet browser, mobile phone app, or your WebEx desktop app, simply follow the instructions on the screen. If you would like to ask your question or make a statement, you can click the raise hand icon. When you are called, the moderator will unmute your mic. When you are finished, the moderator will mute your line, and we will ask that you lower your hand by clicking on the raised hand icon again. Again, for those joining us online, these WebEx instructions are showing on your screen. If you are joining by phone, as a call-in participant, press *3 if you would like to ask a question or make a comment. This gives us a hand raised signal. When it's your turn to speak, we'll call on you and ask you to unmute your line. Press *6 to unmute, and then you may begin speaking. When you finish speaking, press *3 again to remove the hand raised signal. If you have joined using one of the WebEx applications, you may choose to submit your questions or comment in writing using the WebEx Q&A feature. These instructions are displayed on the screen. Remember, if you are joining by phone as a call-in participant, press *3 if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment. This gives us a hand raised signal. When it's your turn to speak, we can call on you and ask you to unmute your line. Press *6 to unmute, and then you may begin speaking. When you finish speaking, press *3 again to remove the hand raise signal. And a reminder, if you are having technical issues, please contact WebEx help at 866-229-3239. We will do our best to respond to questions in the order they are received. We will now begin answering questions. I see we have a few attendees who have their hands raised. I will first start with Zaid Murrieta. Please proceed.
The first question I have is, how would this potential light rail extension fit in with the current system? Would it just be running back and forth on a singular line, or will it then be used to go north and south on the current central line?
Thank you for that question. So just to repeat it, the question is essentially, how will this line operate? Will it be essentially running back and forth along its own alignment, or is it something that would connect into the larger system? Essentially, that's something that we'll determine in a future step in the process. We have the ability to run it in either capacity, depending on just kind of how that seems to work out as it relates to the larger system once we get more of the extensions underway. So I would say as of now, it could go either way. Our intention is for it to exist as its own system that can operate as a standalone, but it certainly has the potential to connect into the larger transportation network if the project sees that that could be the best way to operate it into the future.
Thank you, Marty. Next, we have Amanda Da Silva. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the information. My question is, when will we know how and if it will affect homes that are in neighboring streets off of Indian School? Like one street over.
Thank you for that question. So the question is essentially, at what point will we know whether the construction of this project would have any impacts on homes in the area around where we're proposing to add high-capacity transit? That would take place a little bit later on in the process, once the project goes more from where we're at now, which is a conceptual phase. We are looking at this point to just put the line on the map to have an understanding of where it makes the most sense to add this high-capacity transit option. Future stages of the project will identify really what the actual on-the-ground footprint of this alignment would look like, and if there would be any impacts to the surrounding properties. The project itself is in phase 4 of the region's momentum plan, currently programmed for implementation in 2041 to 2045. So this project is a little bit further out on the horizon. However, in terms of those timings, the City of Phoenix Council may choose to relook at that timeline if there is the desire to do so.
Next, we have Brendan. I see you've raised your hand and taken it down a few times, but I want to give you an opportunity if you still wanted to ask a question. Go ahead.
Hey, sorry about that. I was trying to figure out how to answer the Q&A. My question was just why the center of the road was selected over the side of the road for the light rail.
No, thank you for that question. So essentially, why would we look at running light rail in the middle of the road versus on the sides? The main reasons for that are just what we call in the industry, I guess you could say, operational efficiencies. So what you get when you put a rail system down the center of the road, the properties on both sides of the street maintain their access to Indian School Road. If you put a rail line on the side of the road, then those properties would not have that direct access via driveways anymore because the property line would end at the light rail alignment. So that's one of the main pieces. The other benefit to it is a safety benefit, where when you have rail in the middle of the road like that, it acts essentially as a barrier to prevent some erratic behaviors, such as making some U-turns in the middle of the road and things like that. So there are benefits to having it down the middle that you don't really see if you were to put it on the two sides.
I'm going to switch over to some of the Q&A, and the first one that I have is, who is the public that gave line feedback and how was this presented? I live in this area right off the existing line and ride often. How has this been presented to existing commuters?
Thank you for that. So this is now our third time in what we're calling our outreach series. The first time that we went out to the public, we had a series of 3 meetings that took place in the spring. That was advertised via our social media from Valley Metro and the City of Phoenix, as well as in print advertisements on different radio stations, and I'm sure a whole bunch of other different ways that I'm not remembering off the top of my head right here. So it was widely advertised out, and we accepted comments both during these meetings as well as in a larger public comment period that lasted for about a month. The summer public meeting series was a very similar type approach to get out to the public and ask for feedback from the community in general, and then also targeted outreach to the affected areas in this study area. So that really Maryvale section of town. During the summer public outreach series, we received 270 comments from members of the public that came in outside of the attendance that we had at the meeting series. This time around, we sent out very similar type approach to get the word out via news media, social media, our own website, City of Phoenix, as well as direct mailers that were sent to all addresses within a quarter mile of this alignment.
Thank you, Marty. Another Q&A. I know we have a caller with their hand raised. It's an individual that asked a question before. I will get back to you just here in a minute, so be patient. I appreciate your follow-up question. How did the study evaluate ADOT's Interstate 17 and Indian School Road Improvement Project? It's a two-parter. How does this impact the proposed project?
Thank you for that question. So this study essentially evaluated it in the sense of we are going to work with whatever is the best way to approach their plans. This project is much further out than that project would be. So essentially the ADOT project would continue as it is, and Valley Metro would build around their infrastructure to ensure that we are able to get this alignment going and in a way that's not disruptive to their planned projects. This project also has been in close coordination with the ADOT study at 35th Avenue, Indian School, and Grand, as that project would be directly impacted by what our proposal is. So we are in constant communication with that team to ensure that everyone is on the same page.
I have a thank you, Brett, Marty, and everyone who had worked on this. I'm excited about this addition to Phoenix. If approved by City Council, when could we expect to see construction on this begin?
Thank you for that question. So this right now is in phase 4 of the region's momentum plan, which puts this project, the West Phoenix Alternatives Analysis, scheduled for implementation in the time period of 2041 to 2045. The City Phoenix Council may exercise the right to vote to potentially expedite the project if there is a desire to do so. So 2041 to 2045, but there is the potential to change that date if there is desire.
The original light rail anticipated a significant ridership to justify the build in the first place. Ridership has never met expectations, and thus cost per rider has been very high. Why should we believe the new light rail ridership will be any different?
Thank you for that question. I appreciate that there are certainly many ways to interpret the way that the rail system operates and what that ridership is. We, as the original system opened, we actually saw very high ridership as compared to what our modeling had showed. And certainly with the COVID-19 pandemic and other aspects that has taken a hit, we are seeing ridership go back up on our rail system. And the way that we looked at ridership on this project is really based on our modeling of the current conditions. So not the conditions prior to when everything happened, but what is on the ground now, to get a really good understanding of the potential for people to use the system. Light rail in this corridor itself would be particularly transformative, as the Maryvale section in the city of Phoenix already has some of the highest transit ridership across our entire region. The Thomas Road bus, the Indian School bus, and the McDowell bus, as well as the Camelback bus, are 4 of our highest ridership routes, not just in the city of Phoenix, but in the entire metro area. So that being the case, we see a lot of riders already using the transit system in Maryvale, and this project provides another potential alternative that would give a faster ride for those folks that are already using the system, as well as new riders that would be excited to try out a new form of transportation.
All right, I do apologize for those, as I did mention your names before I read out your questions. I will do so now. Gloria has asked, is the I-10 extension already approved? Will the line on Indian School, if approved, be and line for the West Valley? Sorry, there's a typo and I apologize. Will the line on Indian School, if approved, be a line for the West Valley?
So thank you for that question. The I-10 West extension is in phase 2 of the momentum plan. So that would put it ahead of this project in terms of when construction would happen. That project right now is going into the preliminary engineering phase, where the alignment for the most part has been approved by, the alignment has been approved by Phoenix City Council. What we're now looking to do as Valley Metro in the city of Phoenix is determine how best to run that I-10 West extension. That project right now, its endpoint is 79th Avenue and Thomas Road at the Desert Sky Mall. This project is further down the line, and it would provide a connection with the I-10 West extension. This project, heading out with the potential option to 91st Avenue and Thomas, could then potentially be extended further west, south, north, in whatever direction in the future as well. So our proposal is to bring light rail from Central Avenue and Indian School out through the center of the Maryvale community. And then once it gets out to that western portion, there certainly could be potential to extend it further.
All right, I'm going to circle back to a call-in user. They don't have a name, but they should see their line unmuted now. If you see that, please proceed.
was wondering what other metrics that you guys were looking at as far as congestion, which already exists on Indian School Road, especially between, I would say, 35th Avenue and Central as it stands now. Did you guys look at that? And did you ever consider extending the existing light rail on Camelback Road to 75th and South?
So thank you for that question. Essentially, the question is, did we look into the traffic conditions on Indian School Road? And then as an alternative, did we consider extending the light rail that exists currently on Camelback Road west to 75th Avenue instead of using Indian School? So to answer that question, absolutely yes, we did. This entire region, as it continues to grow and mature and add in more people, congestion is certainly a concern amongst many. What this project would do is provide a different alternative so members of the community could choose to utilize transit instead of driving if they so choose. The area that was discussed of 35th Avenue to Central and Indian School, we are not at the point yet to determine what the actual footprint would be of this system, but we do see that it is one of the wider arterials in the area, so it certainly has the ability to have some creative solutions looked at to ensure that we're both serving the transit riding population as well as the driving population. Camelback Road was included in our study for this. We did have a few different options that took Camelback further west from where it currently is on the light rail at 19th Avenue. There were certainly benefits to doing that. However, when we looked at all of the different aspects of ridership and where population centers are, Indian School rose up in terms of just having the most number of people within walking distance and biking distance. Camelback, for a large portion of it, west especially of 35th Avenue, turns into a more industrial zone, and the train would essentially just be running right through there, and there wouldn't be much capturing of transit populations. So that is, in a nutshell, some of the rationale that was a part of it. I am more than happy to go into more detail as well.
All right, Marty, now I got a three-parter.
Okay.
From Case and Paul Belair. Question 1, what are the planned stops along the route? How long will it take to complete the project? What structures, homes, businesses will have to be torn down or removed to allow room for the project, or does it fit within the current size of Indian School?
Thank you for that question. So the first question, if I'm getting the order correct, the timeline. So as of right now, this project is in phase 4 of the Regional Momentum Plan, meaning the early 2040s is when construction would be scheduled to take place. The construction itself typically would be done in phases, so each area would have just kind of different within that time frame when the construction would actually happen there. In terms of the impacts, that is yet to be determined. In this stage of the project, we really just focused on figuring out what would be the corridor that would get the most number of people the most convenient ride to get from where they want to go to where they need to go. And so that's where what you can see on the screen here is those 10 initial options. We looked at a whole bunch of different criteria to determine what would make the most sense in terms of garnering ridership. And we also utilized the community input that we received at those 2 meetings prior. And then, of course, we're going to integrate what the feedback we're getting tonight, as well as through our comment period as we move the project ahead as well. In terms of what the impacts would be on particular homes, businesses, that is to be determined in a later stage. Each section of this roadway has different widths, and the potential treatments that we would do will be identified as we get further along. To answer the third question, and I apologize, we went out of order here a little bit, in terms of what the planned stops are. Typically, with light rail, you want to keep the stops fairly spread out to ensure that you get that really, really quick ride time as compared to other forms of transit. So typically what we do when we look at light rail is putting a stop around once a mile. If there's an area that has some more density, there certainly can be conversations to put stops more frequently. And that is something that we utilized to determine what the potentials would be as we did our analysis. However, we certainly want to ensure that the community has significant say on that. So as the project progresses into future stages, this would be a conversation that Valley Metro and the City of Phoenix would have directly with the community.
All right, now Bennett says, thank you for your work on this. I know many of us in the Westwood Historic neighborhood are eager to see revival on Indian School. And I will encourage Bennett to fill out a comment form later on, as we will encourage everyone to fill out a comment form, and we'll have that information later on after our Q&A. Next is Danielle. Daniel, I apologize. How will the stations on Interstate 10 look like?
So, Daniel, thank you for that question. That project we are going to be getting into as an agency with the City of Phoenix within the next couple of years. And there certainly will be a lot of different ways that that information will be disseminated out. And there will be a robust public engagement process on the I-10 West extension to bring the community in and discuss where the stations would be placed, as well as how they would look. I hesitate to go into much more detail than that, but I promise this is not something that will be a long time coming. It will be something that is brought to the community very quickly with that project.
And his follow-up was, when will construction begin? But you've answered that earlier, circa 2040.
For the West Phoenix project,
yes.
The I-10 West project is in phase 2 of the Momentum Plan in the early 2030s.
Right. Mr. Sawyer has asked, has the study specifically evaluated the area that will be sandwiched by light rail on Camelback and this proposed Indian School expansion? This area is from Central Ave to 19th Ave. Can you provide any specific findings?
So thank you for that question. At this point in time, I don't really have much else to go on other than to say that this section of Phoenix from Central Avenue west to that 19th Avenue corridor is where we see some of our highest transit ridership. So having light rail on both of those arterials provides the ability for residents and visitors to have the choice, if they're transit riders, to either take the buses that run down those roads and be able to get directly to destinations throughout that corridor, or take the light rail and have those stops that are a little bit more spread out and have a quicker ride from Central to 19th Avenue than they would on a bus. So it really would provide the ability to have multiple options as a transit user on those roads.
Next, Nick Kovakovic. I see your comment, and I would encourage you to email me at bbenninghoff@valleymetro.org to have a dialogue, considering you not receiving a mailer or any kind of notifications. We can kind of go over maybe some ideas and things that you have about outreach in your area, if you don't mind. His comment was he received no such mailer. Maybe you're referring to the target area, Maryville, instead of the impacted area. None of those outreaches are to existing commuters on bus and riders.
We appreciate the feedback, and we certainly are taking note of all of it. We want to ensure that what we're doing is getting out to the community as best as we possibly can. Thank you for that.
Okay, if a light rail is put in the middle lane down Indian School, could it affect homes still? Indian School seems wide enough to not affect any homes or businesses. Also, if so, is there a number of homes and businesses that could be affected?
So thank you for that question. And yes, as we went through our analysis, one of the things that we certainly went into was, and I know it was on one of the past slides, we talked through physical and engineering constraints. One of those main things is, if we're looking at adding a new mode of transportation onto an existing roadway, what roads make the most sense, which roads can handle it, and which roads are maybe quite narrow and would be significantly more challenging to add a new mode of transportation onto. You are correct that Indian School Road is one of the wider arterials in the Metro Phoenix area, and so certainly that did factor into our analysis as to why Indian School rose up as a really good option. In terms of what specific impacts would be, I hesitate to go down that path yet. That is something that will be determined in a later stage of the project, where we'll be going more from the conceptual planning phase that we're in right now into more of a real design and engineering phase. At that point, the community will be brought into the loop, and there will be many conversations had with different stakeholders and the public about what the potential benefits and trade-offs are of different configurations. And from there, the alternative would be advanced in a way that is transparent and allowed for a lot of feedback and participation.
The call-in user has a question. This might be the same one as before. They just didn't put their hand back down. But if you had another question, I've sent you a request to unmute, and please go ahead. If not, go ahead and lower your hand, and we'll move on to the next Q&A. All right. I think we're going to go back to Q&A. And last one. Oh, no, we got two. Awesome. Okay, I apologize, and this is from RW. I apologize if this was mentioned earlier. I was late to the call. No problem. My question is this an alternative route to avoid the capital area as was agreed for the legislator to pass the Prop 400 language?
Thank you for that question. So this project is actually completely separate from the capital extension effort. This project is really meant to serve the west portion of Phoenix and the Maryvale community. So we actually, as a part of this study effort, never looked at anything downtown. The furthest south that our study area went was McDowell Road. And to the north, we were looking at Camelback Road. So from the outset, the West Phoenix project presented here tonight was really focused on getting the Maryvale section of Phoenix, as well as the other communities that run between Central and 99th Avenue, into that loop of high-capacity transit that we see in other areas that have light rail. The capital extension and then the I-10 West projects are also a part of the program. They are just separate from this study.
Mariska, if you can go back to slide 7 for this question. Juanita Soto Ayers, is it feasible to extend light rail south on 19th Avenue and then turn the route onto Indian School? Now, this kind of goes back to some of the evaluations that we've already done, but definitely you could speak to, where we've been through that before.
Yeah, so thank you for that question. And so what is being referred to in the question is what you can see on the map in the lowercase letter A. So where the purple line is with the circle at 19th Avenue and Camelback, that's our existing light rail station of 19th Avenue and Camelback. And the question is essentially, what about bringing it down 19th Ave and then turning it west along Indian School at 19th Avenue and Indian School? So to answer the question, yes, we absolutely did study that. And that was one of the items that was certainly thought through as we went through the process. When we looked at this and determined all of the different aspects of what would encourage people to ride the route and provide those high levels of ridership, we saw that what you can see as option B on the map from Central Avenue out to 19th Avenue and Indian School had a significant number of potential riders that we could attract to the line. So as we compared the two, both are great options. Both would provide fantastic connections to the rest of the valley via an integrated high-capacity transit system. However, based on the criteria we looked at, the ridership potential of taking it all the way down Indian School from Central Avenue really helped that option rise to the top.
All right. So I want to reiterate to any of those that are having difficulty with receiving any notifications or outreach regarding this study, please go to valleymetro.org/West Phoenix, where you can update your information. We do a mailer or an e-blast through email. You can provide your information there and select which projects you want to get information on. We send those out frequently when we're gearing up for our next round of community outreach, as well as just any updates that are happening regarding this study. So I encourage you to go there. And we're actually going to go to some slides now that talk about that. I'm not actually seeing any more questions in the Q&A, and I do not have any hands raised for questions in the attendees. So for those of you that have joined, we really need your input. We actually need as much input from anybody as possible, so if you could spread the word, that would be great. But please visit the webpage at valleymetro.org/West Phoenix. There you can fill out a comment form. You can submit it anytime through October 6th. You can see what others are saying, because during the process of community outreach and our public meetings, we will post Q&As. We'll compile what we've done here this evening and what we're going to do next week, and actually put those questions and answers up online, as well as reiterating you can sign up for future projects and updates, or update your contact information. For anyone interested, we do have an in-person public meeting next Wednesday, September 27th, from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Desert West Community Center. That is near 67th Avenue and just south of Thomas. I will say that the same materials will be presented at the in-person meeting. And as I stole Marty's part, because I'm pretty sure he was supposed to do that, I have a Q&A question that's popped up. So thank you for drawing attention away from me and my mishap. But anyway, I'm a homeowner directly, this is from Aiden. I am a homeowner directly off Indian School. Although I am excited for the light rail expansion, I am in fear of the future of my home. How will I know if I need to live in fear of eminent domain? I don't mean to laugh, you just wrote that very well. I did not receive notice and will follow up via email.
Thank you for that question. We certainly appreciate that. So we are striving every time we go out. We are taking lessons learned and bringing them back in terms of ensuring that we're doing everything we can to get people notice for these meetings, and that we are being as transparent as we can with the entire process. So at this point in time, we do not have the ability to really get a sense of what construction impacts would be on the project. That is something that would take place much closer to that 2041 to 2045 date that the West Phoenix extension is programmed into the regional transportation plan. So I know that doesn't really answer the question, but what I would say is we did a lot of analysis on all of the different arterials here to determine what makes sense from both a transit perspective to get as many riders as possible, as well as from an engineering and just physical landscape sense to ensure that we're looking at roadways that have more of the capacity within the right-of-way than others. So again, I apologize, I can't give you a direct answer on that, but I would say this is something that will be heavily looked into as the project progresses forward in future years, and that Valley Metro and the City of Phoenix are committed to transparency and having those open dialogues with everyone in the community, both riders, potential riders, and property owners along the alignment.
Thank you, Marty. I just want to reiterate that we do have the comment forms posted online. You can download them for a PDF. You can also submit them through the links. If you bear with us for just a second, we're going to post the links in the chat box. I can remember how to do this. And give you guys all a moment to think of any more questions that you may have. And I do this in, where do I do this? Sorry, everyone, I just don't have my chat box up right now. I guess I put in the Q&A. Again, to remind everyone, if you'd like to follow up on any of the information that you received this evening, we will be posting this recorded presentation on the website at www.valleymetro.org/West Phoenix. While you're there, please take a moment to watch the presentation, fill out a comment form, which we will be allowing submission through October 6th. You can see what others are saying and sign up for future project updates and update your contact information. We again will be having an in-person meeting on Wednesday, September 27th at 6 p.m. at the Desert West Community Center, which is near 67th Avenue south of Thomas. The same meeting materials will be presented at the in-person meeting. And again, if anybody has let us know if they've seen the links posted. And I'm not seeing, Marty, any more attendees asking for questions through their hand raised. And we have no more through the Q&A.
Thank you, Brett. So just to close out, we really appreciate your attendance tonight. We appreciate your questions. We appreciate your engagement. This process only works when we have the community out to hear us out, to give us feedback, and to allow us to integrate everything together to really put forward a project that makes sense for the community and gets people excited. So I appreciate your feedback. As Brett had said, please fill out those comment forms so we can get a written record of what the community is feeling about this project. And we look forward to more outreach on this effort, the council process for the city council to consider the project, and then future steps in the future to bring this project to fruition. So thank you everyone for attending tonight. We appreciate it.
And with that, that will be the end of the presentation. Everyone have a lovely evening. Thank you.